What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. And today I've done something a little bit different. I've gone for a more podcast style, invited the guys, James and Suj from Planet FPL on to talk FPL and both non-FPL questions. Now, there were some technical issues which meant I couldn't basically figure out how to do the podcast with all my usual overlays and stuff. So we ended up just doing it on Zoom. So it's basically just webcams, both of our webcams. The other problem was because I was messing with the mic before we recorded, I accidentally kept it too loud. So their audio is perfect. Mine is extremely loud and distorted. So I've played around with it in the edit and I've tried to make it more listenable, but it's not as good as it usually is. So I apologise for that. If you're someone that can't listen to stuff unless the audio is as good as it normally is, then I would maybe advise tuning out. If you can bear with it, then it was a good podcast. I really enjoyed doing it. And if you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a like, because I like to do more of this stuff in the future. And if you guys like it, then maybe we can add a few more guests onto this channel as we go. Otherwise, yeah, I just done this little intro basically to let you know why it sounds like it does and why it looks like it does. But hopefully you can still enjoy the content. We went through FPL questions and non-FPL questions. So there'll be another little intro now, and then we'll get into the main podcast. Thanks for watching.
What's going on, everyone? Another video, FPL video today. Slightly different. I'm joined by two absolute gents from Planet FPL, James and Suj. How's it going?
Amazing. Never been called a gent before in my life.
Oh, no, so not even once. Not even once.
You got the wrong people on, Andy, I think, mate.
So,
on.
Well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how gentlemanly you are. We've had a few technical hiccups. We're recording this on Friday. It's probably not going to go out till Sunday. So if there's any big FPL news in the interim, you'll have to completely ignore it. But basically, we're just going to run through a few questions that people have come up with. Probably maybe stuff we've discussed before, but it'd be good to get your thoughts. And then got some non-FPL questions towards the end as well. Just kind of mix it up a little bit in the general FPL stuff that we're probably all going to be talking about for the next week or so. Anyway, if that's cool with you guys.
It certainly works. I always prefer the non-FPL stuff in international breaks.
FPL is way too taxing for you.
It just, well, I mean, England did all right yesterday, but yeah, whatever questions that people want us to answer, I think we can.
Let's do it, mate. Load them up.
All right, we'll do the boring FPL stuff and then we'll do the non-FPL stuff afterwards.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so the big thing that I guess loads of people are asking about is Man City and Liverpool players. You know, whether we should have both, whether we should swap Man City to Liverpool, whether we should just ditch Man City in general. So Alex Ball, who I'm sure you both know, Alex Waterbaby got in touch. Thoughts on Liverpool attacking double up, and I guess also, you know, potentially double up in defence as well. Then football, Sogat, Liverpool versus Man City assets. Can't we just have both? He asked. Does it have to be one or the other? So I guess what do you already have, and what's your kind of plans going forward for Man City Liverpool players?
I have 4 at the moment, which is Ederson in goal and Kevin De Bruyne from a City perspective, and then Trent and Robbo from a Liverpool defensive double up. With a plan to get Sadio Mane in. So I'll have 3 Liverpool and 2 City. So that's where I'm sitting at the moment. I suppose both James and I have been quite stubborn on the Liverpool double defence for quite a while. So that's dictated our strategy a little bit, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm on 4.5. I can only count Benjamin Mendy as a half. You don't really know if you're going to get a 1 or a 0. I've got TAM Robertson for me go absolutely nowhere bar injury and just manoeuvring around game week 18. And I've recently moved from Sterling to Mane. I'm holding KDB. So I think that's the kind of answer in terms of, like, can you have both? Yeah, of course you can. I think like the template in the top 1,000 at the moment's got like Mane and Sterling. So yeah, absolutely you can have the coverage from both. I think it's probably difficult to be pushing 6 at the moment when there's so much good value from, say, Leicester and Chelsea.
Yeah, they're still expensive, right, at the end of the day. But I think the defensive double-up is better value than the attacking double-up from a Liverpool point of view. I'd say Trent and Robbo plus Salah or Mane is the way I would go. But, I mean, Salah's still playing all right, and he's been injured for a while. So if he was back to full fitness, I think he'd be banging in the goals as well. So City's problem is that you can't trust them at the back because they're leaking goals, and you can't trust them up front because you don't know who's going to play. So even when we spoke to our Man City correspondent, Johnny Pringle, I think he was sticking with De Bruyne just because of reliability more than anything else. And that's the trouble people are having with City, right? Reliability, who's going to play.
Sterling's going to score goals.
He will.
But I think one of the reasons the movement off's happening is because of a lot of people are not going to be captaining him in the forthcoming weeks.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously, it's still a difficult fixture for Liverpool at Palace in game week 13, but actually, big sides have done well against Palace this season on the whole and kept clean sheets in the majority of the games. And then the fixtures afterwards really do look like captaincy options for Liverpool. And then you got like Vardy and Abraham, as I've said countless times on our pod, are both captaincy options in those weeks leading up to game week 18 as well. And that's where you feel like you can miss out on City a little bit. That's why I hold the.
Yeah, that's kind of what my thinking's been with the captaincy. It's almost like, at the start it was kind of Liverpool or Man City. You captain one of those two teams, but I think once you go elsewhere, it's almost like you've done it, so you can do it again. Like I've captained Vardy last week. I'm not so drawn to having to captain a Liverpool or City player going forward, and I've dropped Sterling as well. And I think the point I kept trying to get across is what you just said. They're still going to score goals. No one's dropped Sterling thinking that he's suddenly going to blank for the next 6 game weeks. It's just, I think a lot of it is just fear. And I keep seeing people saying, what happens if you get punished? Well, he's only got 1 double-figure haul since game week 1. So you could have said what happens, if you get punished since game week 1, and it would never have happened. So that's kind of why I did. When did you make the Sterling to Mane switch? Was it like this, like recently?
I did it before the weekend.
Yeah. So it's for this week coming, yeah?
Yeah. No.
Before game
week. Okay,
4.
for the last game week. Yeah. I think that's a move a lot of people are making. So, yeah, I think that's the way people want to go. I'm trying to I guess from my point of view, I'm trying to play without fear. Like it is worrying not having Sterling, but it's also worrying not having Mane, especially with the upcoming fixtures. And I own Salah, and with that ankle injury, I'm a little bit worried about that. So we'll have to see what happens after the international break. So yeah, I think like you said, you can definitely have both. I actually only have De Bruyne from Man City. That is it for me. And I only have Salah and Trent. So I only have 3. Part of that is team value issues. But I'm actually seeing if I can upgrade De Bruyne to Mane and go in for the double attack. The one reason for that is it's not that I don't think the defenders are value, because I think they absolutely will be. I think they have been pretty much already without the clean sheet, which I think will come. But the double up is a big differential, and also there's so many cheap good defenders right now. Like I'm going to struggle to bench defenders in the next few weeks, and I've got Tomori, Soyuncu. I'll have to get Lundstrom at some point because I don't own him. Plus
you
one.
Don't own Lundstrom.
I know. Here's the thing.
I don't know what's more mad: me not owning Abraham yet, or you not owning Lundstrom yet.
Yeah, but so here's the thing, though, right? So I'm fully behind that Sheffield United, great defensive team. I'm not worried about clean sheets and stuff. But so the thing is, this week I've got Maguire. Now, can I take Maguire out for a -4 to get Lundstrom in? Just doesn't seem right. But you know who's going to get rid of Maguire's clean sheet? It's going to be John bloody Lundstrom.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of.
I mean, I know you're United, Andy, but I think Sheffield United beat you. I was so impressed with them at Spurs last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not we'll lose, I don't know, but they're not gonna let us score too many. Do you know what I mean? I think we'll be lucky if we get one.
Henderson's out, so I don't think we know enough about the replacement keeper in terms of it might have a destabilising effect on them defensively from a confidence perspective. But yeah, they are far better. Their league position at the moment is not false. I don't think they are, but the way they're playing at the moment, they will finish top half.
Yeah, no, doing really well. It's just that's the thing. I will get him. At this point, I'm going to probably have to pay about $6 million for him. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, talking to team value, which is one of the reasons I've only got 3 from Liverpool, Man City. Got Johan said is team value less important? Like, how do you guys what emphasis do you put on team value? Like building it at the start, continuing making early transfers. Do you worry about it? Do you check the site?
Not this season. I think that's what's the difference because of all the value that's there with Leicester and Chelsea. My strategy generally has been target try and increases up till December, January, and then at that point it's slow down and worry about it then because you up that value, which would then enable you for your free hit team wild card when you're using that during the doubles periods nearer towards the end. But this year I just feel like it doesn't matter so much trying to chase that value. Case in point, I got Vardy in before the Southampton game. They did it late. I let his price go once earlier in the week. Yeah, I could have been 0.1 better off. And that's happened to me once or twice this year. When I look at trying to maneuver players in my squad at the moment, I keep looking at it and going, yeah, I can get him. It's not breaking me. The forcing through at the value at the moment might get to people to an end game point where it is more feasible to get, say, Mane and Salah together, retain a premium defender, plus, I don't know, maybe even a Kane or Aubameyang at that time, maybe. I don't know, but I don't feel it's important right now.
I'm with James on that. I just think there's too many bad players. What I don't like is being forced into a move, which I don't make just because of the value. I don't know if it's just the way we feel or whether facts bear it out, but I feel like there's been a lot more early price rises in the game weeks this year than there has been previously, maybe as a result of so many more players. And I don't like that. I don't like having to make my transfer Saturday, Sunday, Monday just to protect value. So I've let it go. It doesn't help that I've probably spent most of the season with more than $500,000 in the bank at any given game week. So again, the pressure's not always been there to extra 0.1 or 0.2. Only in the last week, I would say that I've suddenly had a bit more of an eye on it. I moved from Aubameyang to Vardy because of a price swing that was going to happen one day earlier than I would have normally. But only in the last week, really. Not that fast otherwise on value this year.
So many good midfielders and forwards in that kind of 7 million range.
There's so many price drops as well as price rises as well. You look at some of the players that have really fallen in value, and you're like, whoa.
One of my strategies, particularly early, not necessarily to catch the rises, because if you get the right players in, like, you'll get rises.
Yeah, exactly.
Miss the drops.
It's protecting the value. It's really early on. No, it's not so important now. Like, I think, if I lose a 0.1 on a Pookie, for example, who I'm pretty certain I want to get rid of, then fine, so be it. I don't know if I've got a goalkeeper next week, for example. So I need to wait.
Yeah, that's kind of. I don't usually ever make early transfers. I barely look at price rise sites because I just don't want that to be my decision maker. Although I did make some early transfers, like kind of game week 3. I think I bought like Mount, De Bruyne, and Pookie in like on a Monday, which I can't remember the last time I've done that. But at this stage of the season, because you've got Europe and there's going to be cups coming in early next year and stuff like FA Cup or whatever, like that would stress me out making the transfer that early. And I think right now you just ride the wave. There's so many cheap options. Like why would you worry too much about the team? But I do think what you said about Aubameyang and Kane, like they might not be players we're looking at right now, but when you're putting out a big your free hit or something later on in the season, and you want to try and max the big players, potentially Leicester and that will still be absolutely smashing it. Don't really see any reason why that wouldn't happen, but we know things quickly change in FPL. Like what we're all talking about now could be completely different in 4 weeks. So yeah, I don't know if it's less important. I just think it looks less important because there is so many good players. So yeah, and now I guess something that's kind of similar to that, which people do to get that value, is taking hits. Now this question was directed at me because I always talk about hits. He said I had my best season was when I took loads of hits. I took like 96 points worth of hits. That was my best season. Yeah. Now it could be a coincidence. Hasn't happened since. Obviously I haven't had a better season because that was the best season. They basically asked me why have I stopped taking so many hits. But I get your opinion in this set, but I basically just use them when I need them. Like I don't have this fear about using them. People, I think sometimes it really stops them doing what they want because they do not want to take a hit under any circumstances. And I've only taken one before last week. And last week I just looked at my team and thought, if I keep making one transfer every week, I'm going to be behind for 8 weeks, and then there'll be a new player to get on, and I'll never kind of get ahead of the curve. So I took a -8 to get rid of Sterling, bought in Vardy and Jimenez. Obviously that went well this week. So that's why I use the hit to kind of restructure and get in the players that I think are going to be good for weeks to come, rather than just a single game. So how do you take hits? Have you changed your approach this year at all, or kind of same old?
Start taking some Suj.
You have, haven't you? I've made 9. I've made 9 transfers all season. I've used my wild card, but other than that, I've made 9 transfers in 12 game weeks. And the strange psychology of it's like I think when you're behind, because I've been anywhere between 1.5 and 2.5 million for quite a bit of the season, you don't feel like you can afford to take hits because the points are precious. But that's actually the time you need to take hits, right? To be a bit more aggressive, to try and catch up. Whereas when you're front running and ahead, you've got points to play with, feel a little bit more ballsy and aggressive to actually take a hit. So I think I need to start taking more hits. I haven't taken a single one yet this season, and I don't really like taking more than 2 or 3 all year. But you've taken quite a few, right? 4, 5?
It's been a major week of mine over the years to not be aggressive, and I'm trying to. I essentially got to a rank that wasn't where I knew I wasn't going to hit my targets last season, so I started experimenting with hits a little bit more towards the end of last season, and I had a really good hit in game week 38 for -8. It gave me like a net plus 15 points or something. So I finished through the summer thinking, okay, I can do this. This worked, and that was just on a 1 game week. So I've tried to be a little bit more aggressive this week. So I'm quite open-minded in terms of, for example, next week, Andy. I know, we talked about Mendy. I'll probably ditch him for a cheaper one and start manoeuvring around. But if I've got a position where Heaton's out and I was possibly looking to move him on after that Newcastle fixture anyway, I'm still sitting there with Pookie and Cantwell as well. I'm thinking, let's start going -8. Like, I'll do it. I'm happy to do it now.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to my team. I just had so many players I need to ship, and that didn't even include getting rid of Maguire, getting Lundstram in, getting Manny in. So I'm already like thinking 3 transfers ahead, and I've still got all these others I need to do. So yeah, like that's kind of how I thought about it. I just need to kind of almost reset my team so that I can start getting the new players in that I want. I think one thing you said, like being 1.5 to 2.5 million. One thing I've definitely noticed this season, there, because obviously every year the managers go up, and therefore there is a certain percentage more of active managers. The points are so close still.
They are really close, man.
So I think your point about like not wanting to take hits because like you're worried you don't have the points to spend almost. I think if people check the ranks and how close the points are, I think they'd be a little bit more kind of open to it. Because I felt like 700k in a week, and then the next week I'm back up 300k. It's like it's just been a bit insane so far.
Well, the example of that, Andy, was I got away with getting Lundstram as first sub and getting his points. Had I not had him come on for me, I would have dropped 300,000 places.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy right now.
Yeah, he really is tight in that sort of bunch behind, I don't know, maybe even the top 50k into the millions. Like if your rank's 1.5 million now, you need 2 good game weeks and you could very easily be in the top 500k.
Yeah, so don't panic, but take plenty of hits if you want to, I guess. But I think
it's interesting, Andy, just to go back, because you kind of debated it a while ago. Oh, shall I take that hit for Lundstram?
Exactly, yeah. But it's different though, because do you know what makes it worse? That particular hit. I don't want to keep talking about Lundstram. I think people are sick of me talking about it, but it's because it's in the same match. So if I take a -4 to take Maguire out and we somehow get a clean sheet, which I don't think is out of, I think a clean sheet's we've got potential. I mean, Man United haven't conceded a huge amount of goals this season. They're not Leicester, not Sheffield United, but they conceded less than City, and they're not too far behind Liverpool. So if we could get a clean sheet, and I've taken a -4, I don't know. Maybe it's a bad psychological thing, but I just don't feel like if I'm going to take hits, I want to prioritise, and I don't know if Maguire out for a hit against Sheffield United is the way. But if I don't take it and Lundstram goes nuts, then I'm screwed. But I'll worry about that for the rest of the week. I'm sure it'll be playing on my mind the whole time. I don't know if this is an FPL question or non-FPL. There's someone asked, I forgot to write down the name. Does podcasting affect your decisions? Maybe you've talked someone up and then you feel like you have to go through with it, or people just keep, responding on Twitter to kind of thoughts you've had. Does that kind of affect your decision making?
No, there's always a possibility someone's going to come back and go, "You said," or. Yeah. I just look at it from the point of view, I'm quite entitled to change my mind. Like when I express a view on the podcast, I'm expressing it because it's how I feel. But sometimes I listen back and often I feel stronger for my view, hearing my own opinion back. But then quite often I think, oh no. So like a couple of weeks ago, I said on our Friday short form podcast that I was going to get the cells in, and listen back to it. And while we were recording, I caught a second glance at Sheffield United's fixtures, and I thought, you know what, they're not even that bad. What am I doing here? I've got to get Lundstram in.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, Lascelles scored on a Sunday, right? And it becomes quite laughable. But obviously, you know, then Lundstrom's points come afterwards. Lascelles is now out for 2 months, apparently.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, you know, it worked out in the longer term, sure. It's probably rare that I say I'll do something and change my mind, personally.
Yeah, I like to keep. I just feel like that's just a thing. If I feel that this is the way to go, I don't like changing my mind too much because then I feel like you regret it more when it goes wrong. How about you, Suj?
Yeah, I've been consuming less content of other people's content in the last few weeks, just to kind of. I want to see what happens if I do have less access to information and data and stuff. And I'm notorious for not being on Twitter that much anyway. Does it affect my decision making? It probably affects the show affects me and my decisions more than maybe James. I reckon James is much more single-minded, and when he knows a plan, he'll stick with it. I'll change my mind on the decision on the deadline day or what have you a little more, but I don't really go looking for external information as much as maybe I have in the past, and I'll just make a decision and go with it.
Yeah.
Do well though.
Well, a few more weeks, you never know. I find there is obviously so much info out there. It's impossible to take it all in anyway. Like, there's just so many obviously podcast videos and stuff. And I find if I do a deadline stream, that can hurt me because I'm more likely to make the transfer even if I don't think it's necessarily right. Hence Otto Mendy to Maguire a few weeks ago. That was done on a live deadline stream, like just before the Man United Bournemouth game kicked off. And I would say, I don't know if it affects me, but I do feel the pressure. Like recently, when things have been going bad, I felt the pressure a bit more. Having to go on a live stream there and try and like defend your rank almost. The pressure kind of comes on, but I don't think it changes my decision making either. If I think something, like if I want to bring Maguire in, I will bring Maguire in, even if everyone's telling me it's an awful decision, which it ended up being. We're just obviously conscious of the time. We'll do one more FPL question, and we'll move on to the non-FPL. Maybe we'll do like a bit of a quick fire with that. FPL Brian asked, what's the next, obviously if we all knew this, we'd all be flying up the ranks, but what do you think is the next big template buster? So he said, we have Pookie's rise, Chelsea's rise, and Norwich decline, Leicester rise, risen even, and City maybe on the decline. I'm not quite sure about that, but what do you think the next template buster is? Who?
Template buster. There's been a bit of talk about Palace.
You've stolen it.
You mentioned it.
I have Palace written down as well.
I don't think it's a sensible thing to do, though.
No, I don't think it is. I just look at Palace's fixtures, obviously, from 15. I'm still conscious of my team's become quite templatey, and I'm conscious of throwing one in as a wild card. I'm still thinking hard about Wilfried Zaha. And there's nothing, I'm very much a manager who bases my decisions on eye test. There's nothing that I can see there, having watched him again at Chelsea at the weekend, that's making me think, he could be an immediate FPL asset. But it'll only need one return, like in that Burnley fixture in 14 or the home fixture they've got the weekend after, where he's hitting points or double figures, and then people look at that fixture list again and it will go. Because his ownership's so low. Was it about 7% owned or something at the moment?
But then there's a lot of dead
must be,
as well. So there's a lot of dead teams that have him. I don't know.
Live ownership's probably a lot less, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sold on Crystal Palace, to be honest with you. I think that's one potential template buster. I don't know if anyone's going to consider any Newcastle players because they are playing better. They do have some attacking threat in St. Maximilian or whatever it is.
St. Maximilian.
And
Almiron scored for Paraguay.
Almiron scored yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Maybe he'll translate into the league soon.
But I don't know if anyone fancies a punt, because if Bruce is getting a song out of Newcastle, maybe they could be a template buster.
The Sells injury's a blow for them.
It is. But then they've got options there. Williams, the left back or what have you. I don't know.
I still think he's a risk with Matt.
He is, but he's been all right so far. I don't know. That could be a potential template buster.
Williams is a nightmare. Someone mentioned him back when Newcastle played Liverpool on a stream I was on. I said, who the hell is this guy? Never heard of him. And then bam, went and took away Trent's clean sheet in like 3 minutes with an absolute banger. So yeah, I know all about it now. I think it's actually pretty difficult right now because they were kind of already talked about, like Leicester and Chelsea, and that are such good value. It's hard to drop them. So I don't know where the difference is coming from. Sheffield United from game week 15, they got a really nice fixture. So defensive double up could be a differential. And maybe Mousse up front if you wanted to go like a cheap player that allows you to put money in elsewhere. My only worry about that is it going to be another Cantwell issue where people get stuck with someone so cheap it's hard to kind of upgrade without maybe taking a hit or so?
Our Sheffield United guy, Tomo FPL Blade, though, he thinks he's a lock at the moment. He was excellent at Tottenham at the weekend. Him and McGoldrick played really well up front.
Yeah, he's been decent the last few. Obviously, minutes have been a concern, but it looks like he's gonna keep starting. So yeah, I've got Spurs down at some good fixtures, but I listened to the Tottenham pod this week, so I'm not really looking to go there. I just think Son is a nice player to own, but he's just so expensive when you look at like De Bruyne and Vardy around the same price. So yeah, Tempo Plus is looking tough.
When you look at it, I could end up with a team that's just Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Leicester, and then maybe
a goalkeeper
or one other player.
Or Harry Maguire.
No, not Harry Maguire. I was thinking Lindstrom. But at that point, it's not even then, because all of those teams are going to carry on playing well and winning. It's like, was it your players are the ones that return? Because in amongst all of those teams, the returns are being shared around quite a bit. Like Leicester, it's Tielemans and Maddison and Barnes and Vardy are all getting attacking returns. Same at City, you never know who's going to be on the. You could have 8 goals and 8 different goal scorers with City.
Yeah.
Liverpool could chuck away their clean sheets, or everybody hits, and you could end up with a monster game week. I feel like it's going to end up in that where it's either rubbish or amazing.
Yeah, you're right. Like, because I got to bring in a Leicester midfielder soon, and I'm looking at Maddison, but I just think Tielemans could be just as good for less money. And it'll be the week you get the wrong one, and that's frustrating. But you just got to ride it out, I guess, when they've got some good fixtures. Now that
Madison's gone up to 7.5, I do actually think Tielemans is a better option.
Yeah, 0.9. It's a lot of money.
7.2. The gap was a lot less. Now it's almost the best part of $1 million. I think that Tielemans is a better option than Maddison.
You changed your tune.
Yeah, but I mean, he keeps going up in price, but I don't care because I own him.
Getting easily influenced.
No, but if you own Maddison at 7.1, you're not going to downgrade him.
No, it's kind of the same Salamane. We say don't jump from one to the other. If you've gone for Tielemans or Maddison, accept where you've gone, I think, and that's it.
Mm.
If you haven't gone yet, my personal preference would be Tielemans. But then, honestly, Zaha's going to be a big thing for me in the next couple of weeks.
Get him.
Zaha's an interesting one because, he's not looked great. The Palace haven't looked great, but then the fixtures, sometimes that brings form.
Look at their December run, mate. Bournemouth at home, Watford away, Brighton at home, Newcastle away, West Ham at home, Southampton away, Norwich away. Then they come into January, Arsenal at home, City away. And then you can go further. Southampton at home, Sheffield United at home, Everton away, Newcastle at home, Brighton away, Watford at home, Bournemouth away. That takes you up to Liverpool away, game week 31.
You're going to hold Zaha all that time? Damn.
Well, if he starts performing, mate, catch the value at the low point of it, then yeah, you would.
Yeah, I don't think I spoke about him on Twitter the other day, or just Palace in general, because obviously IE's playing as well. But yeah, sometimes you just got to go for the fixtures. At the end of the day, that brings form. People will say someone's out of form; they've just played Liverpool, City, etc. If he's got good fixtures, why not? There's worse punch you could go for.
What worries me with Zaha, that if I do go for him and I just keep looking at that fixtures and I can't get off.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Could be an issue.
You buy in with 5 fixtures in mind. You can't come off.
It's Pookie syndrome. That happened with Pookie. There's just one more fixture. It's just Watford next.
I'm still there, Andy.
Yeah.
Still here.
Who's he got next? I don't even know now.
Everton away.
Well, it's just Everton away. They haven't kept a clean sheet for 8 weeks or something.
Well, they will now, wouldn't they?
All right, let's do a few quick fire non-FPL stuff. I don't know if we had actually written down that much. But, this was again directed to me. FPL Chancer, we all know Dan. Does living in Ireland help with the eye test? To be honest, there's only one extra game, 3 p.m. on a Saturday, which is great if I'm in, but Saturday, family day, all that jazz. Doesn't help that much if I can't watch it. And you don't get to choose what game it is, which sucks, depending on what gets put on. Matthew Stock asked, how is your enjoyment of the game, I'm guessing he means FPL rather than football in general, changed since creating content? Do you like FPL more, the same, less? Does it get more stressful having to do content all the time?
Stressful? No. To be honest, we only put the pressure on ourselves from that perspective. There are certain times where I remember watching Huddersfield and Fulham on a Monday night last year and thinking, I've got to watch this. We're doing a podcast. And I guess it keeps the interest going, but other times I think I'll just sling that shit off, basically. So there's positives and negatives. I think you can get drawn into. I'm quite strong in being able to look beyond that. But I think one of the other questions you had, Andy, is in terms of will you ever be able to look at football again without thinking about FPL? Yeah, I do that watching Spurs every week. So
yeah, I find that difficult actually. Like, could I ever watch football in the future without thinking FPL? Yes, if I wasn't playing FPL. I think if I play FPL, I find it hard to like completely switch off. Like if Man United score and I don't own that player, I'm not sat there like crying because I don't own Martial. I'm happy that he scored, but at the same time, I'm obviously hoping that he scores more than the player I don't own. The win is obviously the most important thing, but I do find it hard to completely switch off. It's easy, like Euros 2020. Obviously, that's easy. That's internationals, nothing to do with FPL. But like if I'm watching Champions League, something happens. I'm thinking, what's the FPL kind of consequence of that? If this player gets injured, who now is available in FPL? I do find it quite hard to switch off from that. Don't know about you, Suj.
I don't really care about the game of FPL that much, to be honest. Before creating content, I didn't really play. I'll be honest with you. So I dip in and dip out. I've thought about this from a different point of view. It's like, can you watch regular football without thinking about FPL? I've always thought, could I still go week in, week out with James about FPL without having a team? And I reckon I could. I reckon we could just as easily have conversations about option A or option B and what's happening in certain games without having a team.
I wouldn't be able to banter your team.
No, exactly. But if the team got to that bad that I just couldn't care less about it, I'd still actually want to do an FPL podcast and talk about football. I don't really care about a team. Like I don't lose sleep if I'm 2 million or 3 million or 4 million. It's a guessing game, right?
If you did something like that where you're not physically playing the game, but you're assessing the game, it's hard to put yourself into circumstance, like the emotional circumstance of how someone feels. Like you're talking there, Andy, about the implications of the hits or the implications of something someone said to you on the stream that might make you have a last-minute decision. You're just looking at it completely objectively with no emotion towards it. And
is that right or wrong? It's funny you say that because I saw something that Lee, FPL family, said on YouTube somewhere the other day where he said FPL is a game to play with your head, not your heart. You're talking about emotions here.
No, I'm saying you can't understand the emotion.
Yeah, true. But it's not that I have never played in the past. So
all right, try it next year.
I do think it would be difficult. Obviously, you can have a conversation. It's just football at the end of the day. You think this guy's doing well, you get him in. But I suppose, like, if you're not playing, you're not looking into like the small factors, like Liverpool's blank. Everyday football fan doesn't care that Liverpool aren't playing in game week 18. So I guess you kind of miss that stuff. But yeah, general just kind of like talking about football. I don't think that would change. Like for me, like FPL, I think I prefer it now. I create content on it. I think if I stopped doing YouTube, I don't know if I'd be so bothered about playing FPL anymore. I kind of started off playing it because my mates played it, and I thought, well, I'm definitely going to beat you. So I had to sign up and play, and it's kind of just grown from there. So yeah, I think my enjoyment's actually grown. I mean, when you have an awful game week and you got a string straight after the game week's finished, and you've scored 20 points and everyone's on 15-60, that's maybe not as enjoyable, but
I think we look forward to that more. I think if we've both had a really good week, I think we're very conscious of going on and going, yeah, great week. Yeah. It don't come off great. People enjoy it more when we go, yeah, had a disaster there.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I walk out of West Ham, one of my favourite things is walking, like there'll be a swarm of people walking, looking over someone's shoulder when they whip out their phone and they start logging into FPL to check their points. And that happens every game, I would say, without fail. Well, as we're walking back up to Westfield, and I'll always nudge someone and say how many points you got, and just have a quick 2-minute chat with people. Whenever I see,
you don't say, "Can you listen to my podcast?"
It depends. What
you got to plug it, right?
It depends. Yeah. If they look like they're gonna, if I say how many points you got, and they look like they're gonna rip my head off, I'm out there. But generally, no, I don't just stand there and say, "Listen to my pod, mate. Listen to my pod, mate." Doesn't work.
to be honest, I've been so head down walking out of Spurs lately. I don't want to speak to no one.
Yeah, no, I did see it. I don't know. Do you think people prefer it like Tottenham when the teams are doing bad? Because I was thinking like Arsenal fan TV, that seems to go mad when if Arsenal ever start doing well, I feel like that would be the decline of Arsenal fan TV. So
quite possibly, but we've never recorded a Tottenham after a good week for both of us.
Still waiting for it.
When we do, I'll let you know.
It goes both ways because a lot of people, the hardcore who only listen for FPL stuff, there's no Tottenham West Ham assets, which you could make a case that maybe other than you could have a case for some. Yeah. Otherwise, you're not looking at any Spurs or West Ham investments. So a lot of people at the moment, I think, will be skipping the show. I think there's nothing FPL-wise I'm going to learn now.
Yeah.
But then you might have missed nugget gems about Sheffield United on the last
week. Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
And other people listen to us, they'll listen to us for the bands and they can draw their own conclusions.
I mean, people always tweet us and they say they're listening to Sky Fantasy Football when they don't even play Sky Fantasy Football, but they enjoy the conversation. So I think people, I don't know.
There's always crossover as well.
I mean, the next Tottenham is going to be after. Are we recording one next week?
You'll be there.
I'll be there. I don't know if the next one's before or after the FPL Planet FPL derby.
Yeah, we'll be scared about it before it happens, and then
so the recording cut off there, but so there's going to be Tottenham next week, and then
there's the Planet FPL derby, right? 23rd of November. So let's see what happens with that game before that. That might be an interesting one. I think for everybody's safety and sanity, 1-1 draw will be the best result.
It's not going to help the viewers, is it?
No.
Nah, we want a result. Either way.
Yeah, it was Spurs win, mate.
I mean, I've still got Yarmolenko and Diop, so I'm kind of rooting for West Ham, but hopefully by then I'll have rid of them because they've been absolutely awful. Well, Yarmolenko was good actually. When you first told me, Suj basically told me I had to get him in on Twitter. Said he'd absolutely get me points. So, and he did for like 2 games. Then he picked
up max BPS a few weeks ago. It's just that he got subbed and didn't start in the last couple. But post international break, I mean, he's still a threat. It's just that there's better value elsewhere.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to move him on anyway. Leicester midfielder has to come in. All right, we'll leave it there. Time is getting on. I want to just say thanks for coming on. Do you want to let them know what your Twitter handles and stuff are? Because I can't remember exactly what they are.
Yeah, you can find James at Planet FPL Pod. Do tweet him and just ask him lots of questions. James loves being sent screen grabs of teams to rate and help.
He also likes
everybody.
Stupid questions.
Please do that and don't tag me. That's all I'll say. Other than that, just planetfpl.com where we've got a bunch of articles written by all the correspondents and stuff, which is always a good read and useful as well.
Cool. I'll put all the links below. Also, I know James likes getting asked which Spurs players are definitely going to play that week as well. So make sure you ask him that as well. All right.
I can tell the honest answer. I ain't got a clue at the moment.
I see those responses all the time.
I couldn't even tell you the formation.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, gentlemen. We'll do this again at some point, I think.
Sure.
Thanks, Andy.
I'll figure out the tech stuff at that point. But we'll catch you again. See you later.
Man, thanks, mate. Take care.